Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Draminam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stitani cha yatraivo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So I think we finished the story of Lavana last week. So where are we tonight?
We're in chapter 8 on verse 14-15.
And the story of Bhargava?
Yes, that's right. We started the new story.
14-15. Mahipo dhiravo vansha tatha sampotha kutkutaha evam putro vichitrasu vasanavashata swataha ya sayotishu charitvadhya jato vikrama marakaha tapascharati te putra samangasat ritastate. Having himself gone around varied births or forms of existence, such as a king, a fisherman, a bamboo, a serpent, and a cock, under the influence of his mental impressions, he is at present born as the son of a Brahmana. Your son is performing austerity on the banks of the river Samanga.
So remember our story, Brigu's in Samadhi and his son Shuka, isn't that his name? Pretty sure. Sees a celestial damsel and he starts to fantasize about sporting with her. So he gets all caught up in sankalpa, imagination. And because of his loss of impurity, he is then hurled into lower births for all these various incarnations. Now, did it happen? Or was it a dream-like hypnotism, stuff like that? Again, like the story of Lavana, we're kind of confounding what's real, what's imagination. Time, it breaks down our idea of linear time. So now Brigu comes out of Samadhi, and after many incarnations, his son is now meditating as the son of a Brahmana, on another bank. Let's see what happens.
तमिच्छसि यदि दृष्टं जाननेत्रेण लोकय एवमुक्तौ मुहूर्तेन प्रतिभानवशादसौ समङ्गाय तटे पुत्रम् आलोक्य पुनराययौ. If you want to see him, perceive him with the eye of knowledge. Thus told, that Bhrigu, by the power of his understanding, having seen his son on the bank of the Samanga river, within a muhurta or 48 minutes, arrived again at his place.
Yes. So again, he has siddhis. He's able to see far away at a distance. Listen carefully. The acquisition of siddhis is not an element of moksha. This is more of a literary device. Yoga Vasishtha, as a text, gives equal weight to Jnana Yoga and Raja Yoga. It thunders that both paths are valid. In Raja Yoga, that is the tradition where if a yogi chooses, they can do the various austerities to acquire siddhis, various things. So he checks out his son, comes back. Let's see what happens next.
Section 2, Bhargava Prabodhanam, awakening of Bhargava, or Shukra, the son of Bhrigu. Tata kalo Bhrigaschaiva samangaya tatam gatau shantendriyam samadhistam tam drishtva buddhaya tam ayam iti kalasya sankalpat samadhe viraram saha. Then the god of death and Bhrigu went to the bank of the Samanga river. Seeing him established in samadhi or yogic absorption, with his senses calmed, the god of death willed, let him wake up. By this, he ceased from his samadhi or yogic absorption.
So, Shuka is there in samadhi, and Yamaraj, the Lord of Death, is there hanging out with Bhrigu. And they both go, and the Lord of Death enters into Shuka, wakes him up. So he comes out of samadhi. Let's see what happens.
Unmilya netre tau drishtva shantam vacha uvachasa bhavato darshane naham param nirvritta magataha. Having opened his eyes and seen the two persons, he told these calm words, I have attained to supreme satisfaction by your sight.
So he's very pleased. He sees Bhrigu and Lord Yama. Let's see what happens going on.
Iti prochya namastyantam provacha bhriguratmajam smaratmanam prabuddhosi tata sopi praboditaha muhurta matra samsara janmantara dasham nijam. To his son, bowing to him after having told thus, Bhrigu said, remember yourself, you are awakened. Then he too, having been roused, remembering his own state in former births in just a muhurta or 48 minutes.
So Bhrigu then reminds, with his yogic power, Shuka of his prior births and who he was many lifetimes ago as the son of Bhrigu, Bhargava. And he is now liberated. Again, there's a lot of stuff that's left out. Don't ever forget this is an abridgment. So what happens in between, we don't know that much. But anyway, so we have the awakening spiritually now of Shuka. Let's see what happens.
Uttishta tata gacchana pashyam purvakam vapuh iti tasya vacha shrutva prapuste mandaram shranat drishtva tu bhargavastatra Shushkam Tanu Uvachasa. Get up, father, let us go and see my previous body. Hearing these words of Bhargava or Shukra, they reached the Mandara mountain in a moment. Bhargava or Shukra, seeing there his dried up body, said thus.
So we don't know how long Briggle was in Samadhi. It might have said in a prior verse, I don't remember. Long time. Long enough for Shuka to have lots of lifetimes. So now they go back and they see Shuka's shriveled up body from prior incarnations. Now, there are stories, both in India and in the West, especially among children, who have memories of prior incarnations. And they say, oh, yes, I lived in Wichita and I was a yada, 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 yada. And then sure enough, there was somebody by that name who lived in Wichita, X amount of years ago. For kids, they don't think it's freaky. They just remember. Death itself is highly traumatic. I think it's one of the things that tends to block our capacity to remember prior lives. You don't need to remember prior lives in order to have steady wisdom. It's not essential. We've had millions of lives. Who can remember them? If you're like me, I have a hard enough time remembering last year. So these are literary devices. But the idea here now is not only does the physical body have a beginning and an end, but the subtle body that moves from incarnation to incarnation in many ways has a relative immortality. So Shuka's going to go back and see this shriveled up old body that he had many, many lifetimes ago. Let's see what happens.
Nirasta kalpana jalam yam shete sukham vane uchitatvam vina nanyat shreya pashyami jantushu. This body sleeps happily in the forest with the web of thoughts or fancy thrown out or destroyed. I do not see any other good in beings except the state of the absence of thoughts.
Well, so this is a bit of a non sequitur. So I'm not sure what he's driving at, whether the body is shriveled up and dead or whether it's in a deep samadhi. But what he said is true. There's no other real benefit in life than not being caught in the web of thought. Let's go on. We didn't skip anything? Okay.
Can I ask a question? When you talk about being caught in the web of thought, meaning believing the thoughts as opposed
Believing your thoughts,
seeing
believing you're a person, believing the world, it's going to make me happy or make me miserable.
Okay.
And I'm caught up in kartavya, craving, striving, stuff like that.
Okay.
It isn't that I don't have a palace. It isn't that I can't go on vacation. It isn't that I don't have a partner or I can't get rid of my partner. That's what is foolishness. That's what the lie of Maya tries to convince us of. The truth is, I'm unhappy because of those three thoughts. The mind is really only three thoughts. You might even say the mind's only one thought. Ahankriti, I think I'm a person. But Yoga Vasishtha says, Jiva Bhavana, I think I'm a person. Ahankriti, my belief that people, places, things, and conditions are inherently joy-giving and misery-producing, and kartavya, I've got to struggle toward that, or I won't be happy.
Thank you.
Good question. Going on.
अथाक्षिप्य वचस्तस्य काल प्रोवाच भार्गवम् प्रविशे मां तनुं साधो कर्तव्यम् अनया त्वया गुरुत्वम् असुरेन्द्राणां कल्याणम् अस्तु धाम इति. Then, interrupting his words, the god of death said to Bhargava or Shukra, Sage, enter this body. With this body, the office of the teacher of Asuras, superhuman beings opposed to the demigods, ought to be carried out by you. Let there be good fortune to you.
So Shukra, now, I don't know if he was in a subtle body or not. That isn't real clear. But whatever it is, he's got to go jumping back into his old slimy body that's sitting there in the trench. And then Yamaraj gives him a job. You will now go to the subtle world, and you are going to be the king of the demons. Oh my gosh. Not sure I like that job. Somebody's got to do it. So let's see what happens.
Uktva chanta hite tasmin satyajya dvijabhavanam shukradeham visheshatha bhargavo niyate vashah chakarapyayanam tasya prokshanai sa bhrigustada. When the god of death became invisible, after having said thus, the son of Bhrigu, under the influence of destiny, having abandoned the idea of a Brahmana, entered the body of Shukra. Then Bhrigu performed the regeneration of the body by sprinkling with consecrated water.
So he re-enters his old shrivelly body. He no longer has the idea of himself as a pure Brahmana. And Bhrigu, his father, sprinkles holy water on the shriveled old body and resurrection. Let's see what happens. Good story for Easter.
Atha Shukra Samuthaya Vavande Pitaram Sukhi Bhargavakhya Name Tattvam Vicharaya Yathamati. Then Shukra, having got up, saluted his father happily. You reflect on the story of the son of Bhrigu to the best of your knowledge.
Now, what are some of the things that I think are very important? So in essence, Shukra became the king of the demons because that was the force of his destiny. That was his prakriti, his nature. That was his swabhava, his swadharma. The idea here is you don't necessarily leave your purvashram, your prior life, after realization. I'm sure you've all heard the Zen proverb, before enlightenment, I chopped wood and carried water.
Mm-hmm.
After enlightenment, I chopped wood and carried water. So if we have the romantic notion, oh, I'm going to be a great guru. I'm going to get money. I have lots of stuff. That may or may not happen. I was talking with a fellow last night, a couple nights ago, and he says, Jim, how come you don't ever do Dharma talks? You know, like where there's 50 or 100 people and stuff like that. I said, you know, actually not the real tradition. The guru is an intimate friend of those who have surrendered to him. It's not about being famous. Modern times, some people, that's what they're to do. But in the end, it's the students who create the guru. You can't have guru business cards put out and then get on LinkedIn. I mean, you can do that kind of stuff, and you'll be another one of the cosmic snake oil salesmen, selling some form of your egoism. What happens based on your prarabdha karma? Someone may come and you're able to pass this on. You know, Swami Tapovana would not teach more than 1, 2, or 3 people at a time. Yet Chinmaya, I could remember seeing him in India. There were 60,000 people at one of his talks. You know, we were a block and a half away. Solid people. There's this little tiny orange dot. Sound system blaring. It's like a rock concert. It's Chinmaya. I can't tell you what your destiny is. And it can shift. It can shift. All I can tell you is if you strive hard for realization, what is the mark of the person of steady wisdom? They know they're not the body. They've given up concern for the body's journey. It'll do what it does. I like to use the metaphor of the shadow. You can't choose whether your shadow is long or short. That's destiny. That's the angle of the sun and the time of day, the weather. So also, what are you going to do with your life? Force of the past, qualities of mind, guna and karma, and the desires of other people. And if you've really gotten this, you won't care. Just do your duty. You'll do right what's in front of you. Any thoughts on this?
Can you speak a little bit more to the qualities of the mind?
Of the person of steady wisdom?
Yeah, the second one, the one before desires of other people.
Oh, let me give you an example. Wendy's been giving me tips on how to do my stuffed mushrooms. Was it your desire?
No,
Why did you give me tips on it?
because you asked me.
See, why are we having a Saturday morning Upanishad class? Somebody asked for it. That's simple. You know, I've been thinking, well, maybe we'll give up the Monday night class. No, people wanted to continue. Okay. Add scripture will travel. Somebody calls and says, I want to have private time with you. Okay. Nothing special about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But for the person of steady wisdom, there's no investment in it, that be it this way or that way.
But even let's say you had your own sort of a desire cropped up saying, I want to do this book or this class. Wouldn't that also be because of the past?
Of course, the force of the past.
So whatever desires are coming up is also force of the past, and the way you respond to them is also the force of the past.
Yeah, yeah. I had a sense, an intuitive sense, that some students would gain value from Ashtavakra Gita on Monday nights. Why I chose it. I had other options. We could have dissolved the Monday night class completely. Start all over with a beginner's class. No class at all. God knows I could use a break.
I guess what I was saying is like, if I want to do something like out of my own volition.
How do you know it's yours?
Right. It is coming up as, something that needs to happen. And so I choose to do it. And that's okay because, that's the force of the past. So I guess what you're saying is
it doesn't matter what you do. That's the
Right.
point I'm getting at.
So there's no resistance to what is coming
And
up.
how do you know when you have the thought, gee, I want to start a business? How do you know that's your thought?
Yeah.
It's the Lord's thought in the end.
Right.
But if you don't care, now if you're all invested, I want to start my own business because all my friends will think I'm important. I'll be able to say, oh yes, I own my own business. Yes, here's my card. If that's where you're going, well, you've got two things that'll happen. You'll either start a business or you won't, and it'll either be successful or it won't. And if you are invested in starting your business, and that's what's going to make me happy, Krishna says, I am the karma phala data. I am the giver of fruits of action. We have a real live example right here. So in 2019, did you have any intention of losing 2 restaurants?
No,
What was your desire?
to keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Good
Maybe-
life.
Maybe sell one of them at 65 and then keep the other one.
Yeah.
Absolute certainty that would happen.
Yeah. But
Never
that's,
occurred that it would.
that's not what the Lord had in store,
No.
you see. And now you have time to be a yogi.
Mhm. Much. Well, yes, very nice.
Different.
Different, yes.
It's prarabdha. It's just
Yeah.
karma.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you'd be a pitch woman for helmets?
No.
Your
No.
magic helmet thing. But you've done an amazing job in enrolling other people in this.
Yes. Yeah. Without having any intention to do it. Yeah.
Will you folks have a family or not? I don't know. I'm not smart enough. The desire arises. This is what's so wonderful about the Sanskrit language. Now, I've gotten this from Mauricio. I do not know this firsthand. But he says in most of the prose literature and in the dramas and stuff like that, almost never is the first person active voice used.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's always the passive voice.
I don't know what that means.
I had a desire is active voice.
Mm.
A desire rose in me
Uh,
is passive voice.
which is pointing to the non-ownership, non-cause,
Yeah.
non-cause, and no cause and effect. It's just arising.
So the desire to have a baby arose in you. And if you hold it that way, remember in our story about Kumba and her dumbass husband, the desire for siddhis arose in her. It's a literary device, but it's again expressed in that passive voice. Something just comes up and you act on it. And it either works or it doesn't work. But with the firm understanding, this is just the working out of my destiny, my prarabdha. And you never know. That old slogan, man proposes, God disposes. In the military, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. Very famous slogan in military circles. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
And the Lord's a trickster. I mean, since we're talking about babies, I had a colleague when I was working at St. Augustine, Rebecca Pelly, a wonderful lady. And she and her husband wanted a baby so badly. And they're Catholics, you know, they do it the missionary style and all that sort of stuff. and they couldn't get pregnant. So they went through 2 or 3 adoption things. And every single one of them fell through. The most painful was the last one. The surrogate had the baby. Rebecca and her husband took the baby home. And by law, the natural mother has 30 days to change her mind. She changed her mind. So after having this baby, and I can remember her coming in to staff meeting and said, you know, I just have to accept. I can't go through this anymore. You know, it's all up to God. I just surrender and give it up. Well, since then, she's had 3 babies in the old-fashioned natural way. Soon as she let go, they got pregnant. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen all the time, but I just find that that's frequently how God works. When we finally let go, things happen. Our job is to be like Job in the Hebrew Bible. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
And I guess in a way, when you truly surrender, part of what you're surrendering is giving up the need to have it come out the way you want it to.
And with the deep, deep understanding, I may not be getting what I want, but wanting itself is the problem. Can I let it go? Now, poor Shuka here doesn't get to be the son of a Brahmana, wear the sacred thread, have high status. No, he's got to go be king of the demons. Pretty shitty job. That's kind of like being a warden at San Quentin. Demons aren't very nice people, you know. Somebody's got to do it. And it's interesting. All the various bad behaviors, proclivities we've had along the way. In God's hands, even our worst defects can become useful. I tell people, I've been quite a rascal in this life. I tell the youngsters, I've given up things you haven't even thought of. But part of what this does is people can come to me and there's this deep psychic permission. I can tell the truth. I'm not going to be judged. I don't have to be frightened. What's Jim likely to do? Laugh. I did that too. So it becomes useful. All my vulgar past becomes useful. All right, going on.
Section 3. Manom Lakshana. The washing of the impurities of the mind. Sorry. Manomala Kshalana.
Mano, mind, mala, dirt, shalanam, I don't know that word.
Is, I think, washing.
Okay.
Janto Kritavicharasya Vigalat Vritti Chetasaha Vijnana Vashato Nunam Swabhava Samprasidati. For a person who has done reflection or inquiry and whose movements of the mind are vanishing, his essential nature certainly brightens up by the power of knowledge or intelligence.
Yes. So, what we need to do, this is a term that Michael's teacher used, Chitta Shuddhi, purity of mind. Tanu Manasaha is the term this scripture uses, thinness of mind. So you don't need to do a lot of tapas, austerity, and then go through some process to make yourself reveal itself. I like thinking of the treasure of the Atocha. Anybody know about the Atocha? Spanish galleon, treasure galleon, coming from the New World back to Spain, and it sank in a storm. Laden with treasure from the New World. And it was just recently discovered in the past 20 or 30 years. I remember watching the thing on the television. And they brought up this kind of lumpy thing. It wasn't really cross-shaped, but it had a lump at the top, 2 lumps on the side, maybe a bulgy lump on the bottom, with barnacles, seaweed, and stuff like that. It was encrusted with stuff. It's been down there, what's it, 1600s? So they put it in a bath of special solution that loosened the barnacles. And when they started to fall off, underneath was this gorgeous, solid gold crucifix, a cross. It wasn't a crucifix, it was just a cross, embedded with precious stones, and diamonds and rubies and emeralds. Just a gorgeous piece of treasure. When they brought it up, the treasure was not available. You couldn't see what it was. You couldn't see its value. You didn't even know what it was. But they didn't have to remove the barnacles and then go through some other process to make it a valuable treasure. So it is with the self. all we have to do is get rid of the barnacles. What are the barnacles? Attachment, identification, vasana. And you could see the beautiful cross even before all the barnacles were gone. Oh man, this is going to be fabulous. Let's get all the rest of the barnacles off. So even before we're sthita prajna, attain a sattvic mind, we attain chitta shuddhi. We practice intense viveka vairagya cha. And the self is so clear, it's so apparent. Keep going, keep going. Oh, it's so easy now just to abide in the self, retire into the self, revel in the self, however you want to frame it. Yum, yum, yum. So this is what he's getting at. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Vicharena paritnyatva स्वभावस्योदितात्मनः अतुकम्प्या भवन्तिह ब्रह्म विष्णव इन्द्रकराः. For one who has well understood his essential nature by reflection or inquiry, and whose self-knowledge has risen, Brahma the creator, Vishnu the sustainer, Indra the lord of the demigods, and Shankara the destroyer become worthy of sympathy.
Yes. So for the jnani, the person who's rediscovered their self nature, how, and the word here was vicharena, instrumental case, by means of vichara. The root is vich, which means to winnow, to separate the wheat from the chaff, or the grain from the chaff. Inquiry, investigation. And the investigation we're to undertake 3 questions. This text invites us to inquire into. Who am I? What is this world? And how has it come about? Who am I? Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. What is this world? Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real, the phenomenal world, meaning the names and forms are illusion, fake news, like a dream. How do they come about? Sankalpena, by means of firm imagination. How do I get rid of them? Stop imagining it. It's that simple. Not easy. That's all it is. Next verse.
Koham katamidam cheti yavat nantar vicharitam sansara dambaram tavat andhakaropamam sthitam. Who am I? Whence is this universe? As long as such inquiry is not made within, so long the show of worldly existence, which is like darkness, remains.
So you see, I didn't make it up. Right here in this verse is where I got those first two questions. Who am I? Whence? What is Alexa? What does whence mean?
The word wins is a form of the verb win, which can have various meanings
Alexa,
depending on the
stop.
context.
Isn't it? It's a time thing.
I think it
When-
means from where.
From where? Yeah. From where does
Right,
this
from
word
whence it
come?
came, yes.
From where? But how has it arisen? That's the question. How has it come about? This is the inquiry. This is the inquiry. Not just who am I, but we also need to inquire into the world. And that's why we've been getting all these weird stories with time warps and hallucination kind of stories, stuff like that. Or those of us who've been studying Mandukya Upanishad, second chapter, first chapter, three mind states, waking, dream, and deep sleep. Second chapter, we lied. Only two mind states, dream and deep sleep. We have daytime dream, we have nighttime dream. Going on.
Sarvashakti anantabhya. Sarvashakti anantamta. Sarvabhan vantarasthitah. Advitiya chidatyanta. Ya pashyati sa pashyati. The all-powerful eternal self, seated inside every heart, is the non-dual consciousness. Whoever perceives thus within, he really sees.
Yeah. So the bodies appear different, the minds are different, the thoughts are different. The self in me is not like the self in you. The self in me is the self in you. And it's the truth, even about people we don't like. They may not know it. Who can know it? Next verse.
Parignayopa bhukto hi bhogo bhavati tushtaye vignaya sevita choro maitri metri na choratam. Only that enjoyment gives satisfaction which is tasted with full knowledge. A thief attended upon, after knowing him as such, becomes friendly. He does not assume the state of a thief.
So there's the story of Sometapovanam who's walking through the Himalayas and some robbers fell upon him. They said, "Give us your money." He says, "I'm a sadhu, I don't have any money. By the way, do you have any food?" Bhiksha. "Oh, we'll share food with you." He sat down and became friends with them. So the idea here is sense objects and the enjoyment they deliver or not is like a thief for the ordinary person who craves the object because that's where the happiness is, bemoans its loss, Desire and object of desire become one. The thought is, that really did it. Let's do it again. But the same interaction done by the woman of knowledge. Desire arises, the object presents itself, desire and object of desire become one. Oh, that really stopped my mind. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. In the end, there's no such thing as worldly enjoyment. There is only the bliss of the self. Those of us who went through Panchadashi, remember we had Vasanananda, Vishayananda, Brahmananda. Remember that? Vasanananda, we experience, we taste the bliss of Brahman in deep sleep. We're aware of it in that just a little bit when you wake up. Vishayananda, Vishaya Ananda, the bliss through the sense objects. When I get what I want, or when I get something I have deemed as desirable simply by the card file in my mind. I'm only getting a taste of my self-nature. Brahmananda, when the yogi has that trick of being able to just drop the mind and directly taste the self. Again, Vidyaranyan's term, I just love it. Brahmananda Rasa Swad, tasting the juice of the bliss of Brahman. But it's all Brahmananda. In the end, there's no separation. Only the way in which the mind works is different. Next verse.
Manaso nigrihiti tasya lila bhogol pakopich yaha tame valabdha vistaram klishtatvat bahu manyate. Even though the enjoyment of pleasures of the restrained mind is little or insignificant, that enjoyment which has not obtained extension is thought of as abundant because of the suffering needed to secure it.
Yes, if I really want it, and I have to work really hard to get it. And I think it's really valuable. I think of the person who's been in prison for 25 or 30 years. What are you going to do when you get out of prison? I'm going to go get a Big Mac and fries. Watch a movie. Person who's been in prison. Oh. But whatever it is, it's only a taste of your self-nature going on.
Bandhamukto mahipalo gramamatreena tushyati parai abadho nakranto na rajyam bahu manyate. A king freed from bondage is pleased with a mere village. The one who has not been bound by enemies nor overpowered by them does not think of even a kingdom as abundant.
Yeah. Do you want to be president of the United States?
Mhm.
You sure?
Yes.
Yeah. of people in Washington who do. Very weird. Next verse.
Manaso vijayat nanya gatirasti bhavarnave tavat nishithave tala valganti hriti vasanaha ekatattva dridha bhyasat yavat na vijitam manah. In the ocean of worldly existence, there is no refuge other than the conquest of the mind. As long as the mind is not conquered by the firm practice of the one truth or reality, so long do the night ghosts of imagination dance in the heart.
Yes. So all we ever get is temporary respite from misery without moksha, knowledge of myself. As long as I think I'm a person, as long as I crave something in the world, I will always be afflicted. With knowledge of the self, the world takes its proper proportion. Seen but not real, pretty to look at, trinkets and baubles. Because I have the pearl of great price. I have the chintamani, the great wish fulfilling gem. Just my self nature. Next one.
Mrityo bimatakaritvat mantri satkaryakaranaat samantraschaindriyan krantya guru vidya pradanatah lalanat snigdha lalana palanat pavana pita suhrit utkam cha vishvasat manomanye manishinam. A servant by doing what is desired, a minister by causing the performance of good deeds, a general by the power of attacking, a teacher by the giving of knowledge, a loving woman by her fondling, and the sacred or pure father by protecting, are called friendly. I consider that by faith the mind is spoken of as a friend of the wise.
Yes. So Krishna says the mind in the state of ignorance is an enemy. But for the person of steady wisdom, mind becomes my friend. Mind knows where it belongs, is in the embrace of Lord Ram. And we finally know where happiness is. When I don't believe the mind and I'm not attached to the world, I can move through the world without fear, which is enormous freedom. Next one.
Evam manomanim rama bahupankala lankitam vivek kavarina siddhyai prakshalya lokavan bhava. Rama, let you become possessed of lustre after washing thus the jewel of the mind, strained with much of mud by the water of discrimination for obtaining perfection.
So if you've got a beautiful gem and it's covered with mud, you can't see its luster, just like the atocha jewel needs to be cleansed. So you need to be brainwashed. Your brains need washing. We removal of the malak, the dirt of klesha, our defilements, our afflictions, the tamas and the rajas. And then the jewel of your own self-nature shines. Glorious luster. Next one.
Indriya rin alam tirtva buddhaya satyam vekshacha tatraiva nishthato bhutva tirno bhava bhavarnavat evam te kathitam rama mano nairmalya sadhanam. Thoroughly overcoming the enemies in the form of the senses, perceiving the truth by the intellect, and becoming established there itself. Be one who has crossed over the ocean of worldly existence. Rama, thus having been narrated to you the means for the purity of the mind.
Yes. So, through viveka, discrimination, vairagya, intense dispassion, detachment, and focusing the attentive faculty on the self. Who am I? That is my essential nature. And then when it's clear to the mind, to the subtle intellect, that's where the aha takes place. Oh, there's nobody there. I'm not a person. And Chidakash, as this book calls it, the space of pure awareness. What is this world? Big hologram. Just a movie going by. And this body, mind, intellect is the character in the movie. Asangoham, unattached am I. That's the point. Are we getting to the end of the chapter? It's starting to sound like
This is just a concluding verse.
okay.
Iti Shri Vasishtha Sangrahe Bhargavopakhyanam Nama Ashtama Sargaha. Thus ends the 8th chapter titled The Story of Bhargava, the abridgment of Yoga Vasishtha.
Okay, I think we'll end a few minutes early. Anybody have any questions or comments? I think a lot of the connecting narrative, the editor kind of left out of this one. It seemed a little sparser than some of the other stories. But it's good. It's good. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om.